It is a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mag. We comb through your questions, your comments, your interactions every single week, and mailbag is the product of that. You can always reach out on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. If you are a member of the Patreon, well, not only do you get added content like MLB Mondays, instant access to our interviews, like Eric Gagne, who we sat down with just yesterday. Jordan Powell, knuckleballer for the Blue Jays, is up there right now, and Will Robertson, probably the most likely outfielder in this Blue Jays system that will be called up here sometime this year, I think. All of those are currently in Patreon, but besides all of that, you get the Patreon bump here on Mailbag if that is something of interest to you. If you didn't get your mail in the mailbag, I know I get comments about this all the time. People will message me and be like, I sent you a message. You said this was good. Honestly, we get so many. Please don't take it personal. Just keep trying. I do my best to kind of switch it up so it's not always the same people getting on Mailbag. Just keep trying. And on that, let's get into it here, Adam. I will bring this up before we even start. As you're aware, 10 years of service time in Major League Baseball is a big deal. It kind of unlocks all of the little extras, your medical, your pension is at full bore, all of that sort of thing. So 10 years is a big deal. So maybe a little tip of the hat. Congratulations to Kevin Kiermaier, who officially just yesterday hit his 10-year service time mark.
Very good. Very good.
Right?
That's good.
Yeah. I was impressed. I was like, Kevin Kiermaier's been around that long. I'm like, yeah, I guess he has been tormenting this Blue Jays team in one way or another for 10 years now.
Yikes. That's a way to put it, eh? Oh, jeez, Lou. Yep.
All right, let's dip into the bag here.
All right. We'll start with this one here from Jenna T, who says, is it unfair that Vladdy is taking the brunt, most of the heat for this team's struggles?
To quote your dad, what's fair got to do with it? But
Yeah.
yes, it is unfair that Vladdy is taking the brunt of this, I would say. Now, that said, he is the face of this franchise, has been touted as a generational talent and kind of been hyped by everyone in Toronto since he was, 15 years old, Adam?
At least, yeah. 15, 16.
At least. Since Anthopoulos signed him as an international free agent. So with that, whenever there's that kind of hype around a player and they underperform, the backlash is always definitely a lot harsher. And that's what's happening with Vladdy. I mean, this is a team effort in what's happening right now. The way that they're not putting W's on the board is definitely not solely on Vladdy. And I mean, if you look at Vlad's numbers over the last 10 days, he's been very good. He's hitting over 350. Finally hit a bomb the other night. Wound up being irrelevant, but it was a grand slam. So putting the ball in the air out of the park with runners on base. You just hope that the guys hitting around him start to come out of it. Bo Bichette has been a black hole of offense. And I mean, it gets talked about ad nauseum because he's such a key player to this offense when it's working, right? Like when things are going the Blue Jays way, Bo Bichette is normally the guy we're talking about, hitting third, hitting second, getting on base, hitting for power, hitting doubles. I mean, he led the league in hits in 2021 and 2022. He was very close to doing the same in 2023. And had he not been injured for 3 weeks, might have very well done it for a third year in a row. And he has just literally underperformed more than any stint in his entire career. So, yes, it's unfair. Vladdy is taking the brunt of this. I think the pressure is starting to really mount with Bo too. He's starting to feel his fair share of it as well. There's not a lot else to say. It's like it's on these guys to turn it around.
Yeah, I would only push back in saying that I do think it is fair for him to shoulder most of the load here. Just in that, yeah, like when you're the face of the franchise, the expectations are higher. That's
Mm-hmm.
the same reason, Aaron Judge was getting booed in the playoffs in New York last year or 2 seasons ago, right? Like he hit
Yeah.
a 85 home runs in the regular season and then was kind of ice cold in the playoffs and he gets booed. It's like,
Well, it is. You're nailing it though, dude. He literally breaks the American League record in home runs, and then gets booed in the playoffs because he went cold.
you know, this isn't a hockey podcast, but I know Toronto fans are also pissed at like Austin Matthews and the
Yeah.
offensive output that didn't happen in the first round of the playoffs for them, right? Like Austin Matthews flirts with 70 goals this season. Like one of 4 players to
Was it
have ever
you that
done that,
was
I
it
think.
you was it you that sent me the Steve Dangle rant?
Yeah.
Honestly, normally Dangle's a little much for me, but that was so beautiful, dude. Like just him being like, we have 4 forwards, 4 getting paid like the most, like
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I
we
mean,
can't score. It was beautiful.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it just for Vlad again. Both Bo and Vlad are like 1A and 1B when you think of face of the franchise on this team. So is it fair that Vlad's getting more heat than Bo? I would just say that yeah, because Bo has been good forever. Like Bo has
Mm-hmm.
given us 5 good seasons of Bo Bichette baseball. And Vlad gave us like the biggest fucking high five of all time in 2021.
Yeah.
And then it's just been a wet noodle since then. And
It
I
is
think
interesting. Do you think it's funny because I was listening to Jim Bowden on sorry, it was Jason Stark from MLB.com on Blair and Barker. And he was talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and that he feels the play, if the Jays are not playoff contenders come the trade deadline, he thinks the move is to trade Vlad. And his reasoning is that most teams are going to look at Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and think they can fix him. And he's like, he probably is fixable. He's 25 years old. Like he even brought up the fact that you're going to be moving a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for high end prospects that are like a year or 2 younger than him.
yeah,
So
good point. And that is something that we all have to like brace for as a fan base
yes,
too. Like
because
when
it's
we're
going to
calling
hurt.
for like a rebuild, is that we're almost for sure going to see Bo and Vlad both be like quite successful wherever they go.
And
But it still
I
needs to
was
happen.
texting, I was texting with the boys from the walk off Mariners, so Jordy and Juan, just yesterday about Vlad. And they said, so Jordy asked, well, don't you worry that he's going to do well on another team if they move him? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. And he is, because any team that goes out and gets Vlad is going to do their homework. They're going to know how this kid performs to his peak ability. And in my opinion, how Vladimir Guerrero Jr., how you unlock that kid, how you get the most out of him is him being the 4th most important cog in the offensive wheel.
Yeah,
So
maybe. You might be
you
right.
put him at first base in Philadelphia, where he is playing 4th fiddle behind Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, and Kyle Schwarber, and he's hitting 5th. Watch him hit 38 to 48 home runs again. Like there'll be zero pressure. So I think any team that goes out and gets Vlad is going to be a team that understands that and can shield him a little bit in the lineup. Listen, maybe Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at 32 years old is the guy who can put a team on his back, shoulder all the pressure, shoulder all of everything that comes along with being the guy. But he has proved time and time again that's not really one of his skill sets here in Toronto right now as a 25-year-old kid. When we have seen him at his best, we had George Springer in the leadoff spot, and that was probably the best season we've seen out of George Springer. I know he only played 78 games, but my God, when he was in the lineup, he was as close to a Houston Astro version of George Springer that we've seen. We had Marcus Semien hitting second, who went out there and hit 46 bombs, broke the major league record for most home runs in baseball. Vlad was then hitting after Semien, squeezed between him and Bo Bichette, who led the league in hits, and then Teoscar Hernandez, who also hit 30 plus bombs that year. Or sorry, I think it was 28 he hit that year. And then like your sixth hitter is Lourdes. Like at that point, you're just like, even as I'm saying this, I'm like, holy shit, I forgot how deep that 2021 lineup was. So everyone makes the big deal out of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hitting in minor league ballparks in 2021. And all of that.
Sarcastically, Scott, though, I have to push back and say that lineup you just read off to me has a fundamental flaw: not enough lefties.
Right.
Thank God we have more lefties now.
If only we could shed some of that power and fill it in with below average left-handed hitters. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, you got a point, and you're right. Like, whoever he goes is going to be a team that's deep, and he's going to benefit from being in a stacked lineup. It's just frustrating that can't be in Toronto. Question:
And
if the Jays were able to somehow pull it off, hypothetical here. Okay, I don't know where all this money's coming from. I don't know how you can do it. Next season, we don't rebuild. We double down financially instead. We're going with the what's his name, Cohen tax in New York.
Yeah.
We're fucking going to the moon. Bitcoin is skyrocketing for us. We move Vlad to third to open up Pete Alonso at first, and we bring in Juan Soto. Again, I know this isn't
defense be damned.
I know this isn't realistic, but okay. My point just being, if we had those guys in the lineup, do you think Vlad turns it around?
Yes.
I wanted to say no, but I think you're right. Like, I wanted to just blame it on Vlad coming up in Toronto and the expectations, and that the most important thing to him turning his career around is a change of scenery. But I do think that, like, oh yeah, no. If he was just on an offensive team, he would contribute more.
Yeah.
It's like it's frustrating.
And
because
most guys
that
would,
feels
though.
like we
like
could
in his
just
defense,
fucking
most
do
guys
that
would.
then. Sure. Yeah. But that's also like more frustrating then, where it's like, oh, we don't have to burn this to the ground. We just need more offense. Like, we just need to bring in two fucking real sluggers. I don't know. Kyle Schwarber.
Drop your comments.
Yeah,
right. We go. Grounds crew, feel free to drop your comments below here, and we'll try and tackle this next Tuesday as well. So feel free to drop your comments below.
Anyways, my long-winded way of saying, Vladdy deserves it, but also I feel bad.
I hope everyone knows too. Adam and I aren't sitting here hoping this is a rebuild. Like, I still would sure love to see this team turn it around. It is May 6th. It is not impossible. They're 3 games under 500. But if this team's trajectory continues as is, like, it's Adam, would you say it's safe to say it's the only way?
You're not going to like my answer. I think I'm kind of rooting for a rebuild.
I'm on the fence here too. Like, I just don't know if this is the team, right? Like, even if they do make the wild card, like,
I feel like the worst thing we talk about, like how there's some softness to our schedule in May. Mm-hmm. June is a meat grinder again, but like, we do have the White Sox for 6 and the Rays for 3. The rest of the schedule is kind of tough, but like, I think the worst thing that could happen to this, like, as a franchise, if we're looking at like big picture, is for this team to like rattle off a 15-game winning streak right now and
save
think
Atkins' job and set
save
him up to be
Atkins'
the guy.
job, and for us to think like, oh, see, we're close after just fucking sweeping the White Sox, Rays, and having good pitching matchup against the Phillies or something. Where it's like, no, we're not close. Like, we're still gonna get fucking our asses handed to us by the Royals and the Twins and the Orioles. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just rooting for like this to be an ugly month and for us to be like, we gotta fucking do something. I don't know,
I
man.
hate that prospect. It's just, I don't know.
I knew you weren't gonna like my answer, and I'm gonna get fucking hate in the comments for it, and that's fair.
I don't
But
know if you will. I mean, this is the thing. It's kind of like I always, whenever I'm on the road with a new comic, they're always impressed with a trick I use when the crowd gets talkative is I'll just stop talking and I'll let the the volume of the crowd really even kind of ring out to themselves. It's like, oh, we're being obnoxious here, right? But like this is kind of where we're at with this Blue Jays front office is we almost like it's got to be apparent that this isn't working. Like it's got to be so loud that they're just like, well, we've got to do something because they have. That's the problem, Adam. They haven't done anything. You know.
I'm man. For the last like 5 days, as I've been working, I've had YouTube on in the back, and every day there's like a new Ken Rosenthal fucking video, or Chris Rose, or Jeff Passan, and everybody's talking like, could the Blue Jays be surprise sellers at the deadline? And I'm like, see, the fucking narrative is out there now. Like this team is. I don't know, man.
When American media is noticing it, it's real.
Yeah.
Because even last year, you were getting American media in September being like, the hard-hitting Blue Jays, this is an offensive engine. And all Jays fans are like, what have you been watching? Like, that is not the narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been tough. Last year, I think there was still momentum or like aftershock from the 2021 season and even a little bit of the 2022 season and whatever. But like last year, I think we were still riding the wave of like, this is a good offensive engine. It's just misfiring. It's just something's not quite working. But like, look at these names on paper. This is fucking a stacked lineup. And I think we're just like, I mean, it's almost mid-May now where the sample size isn't just 40 games of like underperforming offense. It's like 340 games. Like it dates back 2 full seasons now of this as being an underperforming offense. And
you know what this reminds me of a little bit?
Oh yeah, this is not a good offensive team.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit? And I know that the total payroll is substantially different, but it feels a little bit like when JP Ricciardi went all in and went out and got BJ Ryan and AJ Burnett and some of the most money contracts we've seen spent up until that point in Blue Jays history, and it just didn't work. And that's what it's feeling like right now.
and Alex Rios still on our team at that point? I know it was those jerseys.
Yes, they were. Yeah, yes, they were. And then that was when they went out and got Frank Thomas as the DH, and like they were really going for it. They still finished third in the division, typical AL East mid 2000s Jays move. But
yeah, this is.
Sorry, I know this is not a positive show right now, but like I hope everyone understands. Like Adam and I say this all the time. Like we're diehard Blue Jays fans here. I want this team to win. It's just like, how big of a sample size do you need that this isn't working?
Well, on that note,
there's going to be commenters that are being like, finally, you guys get it. Because
well, here's a question for you from Danny. On average, over the last 3 seasons, how many Jays games have each of you watched? And How many do you think you'll watch this year?
Love this question. I would say 140 is probably what I watched last year.
Okay.
Maybe 130. I missed some games. Like that's the thing is like if it's a Saturday night game, like sometimes they do the Saturday night games. I
Okay.
wind up missing it because I'm on the road or doing shows. But I pay attention to every game. Like I'm following along and I watch every Jays in 30. I mean, unless it was such a miserable game,
I
then I
count
watched
that.
it the night before. Yeah, you
Count
count
that.
that. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And
I'll
this
just say
year,
I'm
I'll
probably in the
watch the
same.
same.
I'm probably in the same total number as you. I would say probably like 100-ish. I watch the full 4-hour version of.
Yeah.
Um, and then if I'm not catching it, I'm probably watching Jays in 30 and only missing it if it's like Jays in 30 with an afternoon game the next day. Like if I miss the Saturday night game and then I wake up and there's an 11 a.m. game, I'm probably not watching the Jays in 30 from the night before.
Yeah.
I'm just catching the pre-show and that much of a recap. But this year I would say I am probably down. Like I'm probably going to watch just as many full games. Like probably 4 a week I
Yeah.
watch. But I don't know if I'm going to watch many Jays in 30s.
Because why do you want to watch recaps of the 8-2 loss?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm checking the box score.
Like I'll
I'm
watch
like,
the highlights and stuff.
yeah.
Exactly. Like,
I'll watch
like
the box
we
score. I'll be like,
are
oh, how deep did Yusei Kikuchi go? Cool. He made it 7 innings of 1-run ball, and then
the bullpen coughed it up
bullpen
and
coughed it
this
up, and
offense couldn't score.
We lost 2-0. Cool. Like, okay, it's tiresome. So yeah, there's that answer. Next one, controversial comment here from Johnny Fresh, commented on our long toss from Sunday. Says, first off, love the walk-off, always great content. One tiny complaint I have is the spoilers in the video name. I've been spoiled a few times when I still might have some game left on the PVR. Life is busy, can't always just watch the game for 2.5 hours straight while it's on, and then I just open up YouTube to listen to music or whatever. But yeah, tiny complaint. Everything else is great, and I'll still be watching, even if it did get spoiled for me.
So to start with, glad you enjoy. Appreciate your listenership. And it's funny, even so that was my thumbnail. I'm not good at thumbnails. Adam wound up busy on Sunday and I had
I
to
think
figure it out.
I tweaked the video name though, because you just had it as like Long Toss 302, and I
Right.
had to add like Blue Jays and stuff for the algorithm. So I
Oh,
think
right.
maybe that's what they're complaining about, because I did put like Blue Jays blow it or something in the title.
Oh, okay.
So that
Yes.
might be more of the spoiler.
I mean, my thumbnail also said dealing with the pain. So I'm guessing either way,
Yeah.
we can take shared blame here. Honestly, never even occurred to me. Appreciate, and this is what we were talking about. I mean, I think we talked about this before we hit record, but just like if there's something we're doing you like or don't like, uh, if you don't let us know, we'll never know.
It's true.
So appreciate the comment, and I know that Adam feels differently about spoilers than I do. I was just gonna be like, yeah, okay, we'll try harder, and Adam
Scott's
was like,
just
no.
so nice. Scott's so nice and considerate and respectful. And I'm just like, I do have sympathy that you had it spoiled for you. I really don't like spoilers myself either. But like, you brought it on as soon as you opened up your internet browser. Like, just stay off your phone, stay off social media, stay off of anything, YouTube included. It's like going to news.com and being like, oh, spoiler alert, there's a fucking war in Israel right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just fucking brought out all the commenters that I don't want to listen to right now. Anyways, yeah, like, sorry I got spoiled for you, but there's no chance our one video was the only video that spoiled the game. So
I've done it to myself too. And that's the thing with when you're a hardcore sports fan, right? And like you follow your team, is
if there's like a
your
UFC fight
algorithm,
you want to
your
watch or
algorithm is
whatever,
yeah.
stay off
Yeah,
of
your
fucking
algorithm's like,
TikTok until you
here's all
watch
the
the
shit
fight.
that you always love, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just thinking of like UFC fights, and it's like, or WrestleMania or whatever, and every recap video is like,
Yeah.
John Cena gets decapitated, and it's like, whoa, I didn't want to know that. I wanted to see it from, well, you should have watched it for yourself. And like,
Yeah.
sorry, I feel like I'm being an asshole right now, but just fucking listen to music somewhere else then. Like, go to Spotify or iTunes or your record player or your cassette tape drawer.
Buddy, I'm the worst at it too, because this was like 2 weeks ago. I had missed the Blue Jays game and had done a great job. I didn't open my sports app. I didn't open anything like that. And just because I'm on Twitter so much, I got off stage and finished my recording, right? Tagged all my stuff for my comedy, said goodbye to the venue people. On my way back to the hotel, they had me up like a block, and I just pulled my phone out and hit Twitter. And like literally instantly, I didn't know anything about the game. Instantly, there it is. There's the score. And I'm like, Scott, you know better than this.
Yeah, it's like when you get in a head-on collision and you realize, fuck, I wish I had a buckled up, but now it's too late to buckle up. Like, it's just, you should have done it. Like I'll be at a fucking slow pitch game and there'll be an Oilers playoff game on at the same time. It's not fair of me to rag on other people at the game that are like watching it on their phones and like, yeah, Oilers just scored, for me to be like, hey, spoiler alert, some of us are recording it and watching it when we get home. Like, I gotta be more proactive. And even then, like, all I can do is like run out to everybody and be like, hey, I'm recording the game tonight. Can we not talk about it? And if everybody's cool not talking about it, sweet. But if like one person's like, no, man, I'm watching it between at bats, like when we're not in the field, I've got my phone. I was like, all right, fine. Like, that's just tough. So I don't know. I really, when I read this comment, really wanted to be sympathetic and apologetic and be like, okay, we'll try and avoid this in the future. But I just, in good conscience, can't pretend that we're gonna not put the results of whatever we're talking about in the thing. Like, I don't know.
There it is.
So it's
next question.
It's tough. I
We've
feel
spent
bad.
a lot on this one.
All right. Deb on Patreon just commented that when we're planning the dates for the May Zoom watch party, here are the dates that work for me. And then she listed May 7th, 10th, 11th, and then goes on and lists them. I'm not going to read them. So most of them. Anyways, point being here, last watch party at the end of April went really good. Had a good turnout, a lot of fun. Haven't picked a date yet for the end of May, but if you are in that Zoom watch party tier on Patreon and you want to hang out and watch a Jays game on Zoom with us, shoot a message to us on Patreon. List the dates that you either are or aren't available, what would work best for you, and we'll do our best to accommodate. But we are also threading
as many of you as possible.
Like, whatever, right? So, but yes, start getting your requests in for a Zoom watch party for May, and we'll pick a date towards the end of the month and get that going. So there you go. Okay, let's get gaming on YouTube. Commented, hot take: if towards the trade deadline you're under 500, you trade Vlad, Turner, Kikuchi, Springer, and eat at least half of his contract. Bo, if he doesn't want to re-sign, and anyone else with an expiring contract. This offseason to dump truckload of money in front of Pete Alonso and Juan Soto and then go from there. Only option at this point outside of a full-on rebuild.
I think that's probably not even that hot of a take. I mean, this
I would say
thing.
Anytime you want to rebuild, it's a hot take.
Yeah.
See,
agreed.
we did the reverse of what we did.
We did the reverse this time. Yes.
Show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And it's true. A rebuild is a very big decision to make, and how you go about doing that rebuild, there are different archetypes of rebuilds that you can choose to go. There's the complete tear down, there's kind of the retool where you're moving out some guys, but the truth is with this team is that the expiring contracts are ones that are obviously gone. Justin Turner obviously would be traded for prospects or whatever they could get back. Yusei Kikuchi probably has massive value to
That's
a
one that
contending
didn't
team.
occur to me. I like the idea of keeping Kikuchi because I think he could still be part
Yeah.
of a rebuild. Except that, yeah, he probably gets a haul. So I also really like the was it the Yankees that did it with Aroldis Chapman, where you trade him away and then just re-sign
And
him
then
the
you go
next year
get him back.
anyways.
Yeah.
Like I'd be
Yeah.
cool with that, just going to Yusei and be like, hey, we still love you long term, but like obviously we're not a playoff team, and you could get us a couple decent pieces. So we want to re-sign you next year, but hey, go have a playoff run with the Dodgers, and then hopefully make an offer on you. I don't know, but yeah. Anyways, Kikuchi, it didn't really occur to me, but yeah, I do think Kikuchi would have a pretty good trade value this July, being a hard-throwing lefty that can get you 6-7 innings and is for a
Yeah. And
pretty
the
good
other thing to
sample
keep in
size now,
mind,
putting up pretty good numbers.
Kikuchi's been incredible. And the other thing to kind of keep in mind with this current roster is that there are not many guys on the books after 2025. I mean, there's George Springer there for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
There's Jose Barrios for a couple more years. Some of the young guys like Davis Schneider are going to have
RBR's
be under
left, yeah.
control still. Exactly. But yeah, like you look at where this team is at for guys under control, and they really do have the ability to trade a bunch of guys and spend a bunch of money if that's the route they want to go.
Question for you. Free agent after this season, Danny Jansen.
I don't think Danny Jansen's going to be that expensive. I don't think he has stayed healthy long enough and shown enough consistency with being able to stay on the field to get much more than $5 to $10 million for a season. And if that's what it's going to cost to lock down your veteran catcher that has come up through the ranks with you since 2012, I say do it.
Yeah,
28 years old.
I like Jansen long term. I just think kind of in the same vein as Yusei Kikuchi. If Danny
He's going to have
Jansen
some real value.
can
Yeah.
stay healthy for the next 2 months, that's I think a pretty valuable piece to a
Mm-hmm.
contending playoff team to have a veteran catcher with power.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you get back for him, but
No.
I bet you get one piece that you go, that's fucking pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I don't like the idea of getting rid of Danny Jansen myself. I'm with you totally. Like lock him up long term, whatever reasonable price we can get him for, based on his injury history. But yeah, okay. Luke on Twitter says, "Hey guys, love the show. Hoping to get on Mailbag. This front office has to go. I, for the most part, believed in the things they had done, but I've lost faith this offseason when they signed and added almost nothing when they obviously had to. In your opinions, is this front office's biggest blunder failing during the offseason this year?"
So, Luke, thank you for reaching out. This is an interesting question because when I keep thinking of your saying over the last 2 years of comparing this front office and what they're doing to baking a cake. And you need to give the cake time to bake.
Time
And
out.
we did.
Pause. Can I put an asterisk? Just to interject
Yes.
here. I wasn't there for long toss, but I did appreciate the food references that you were pulling out in long toss in my absence.
Thank you.
Can't remember in this moment what it is now. I'm drawing a blank and I'm panicking. What was the food reference?
I don't remember.
Damn it.
I do remember Sean LeComber doing a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. impression of him saying "Burger Boy." That was
Burger Boy.
hilarious.
Yes.
Sean's whole comment on that too is he's like, think about how bad this Blue Jays team is doing that fans aren't even laughing at Burger Boy. They're not. They're like Vladdy.
I like when Jeff from the 4040 Man podcast made a comment about too many Chiefs, not enough. And then Sean jumps in and goes, Guardians. Not enough Guardians.
Yeah.
Too many Chiefs,
Yeah, not
enough
enough Guardians. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Sean's the best. Anyway, sorry, continue.
So you always had let the cake bake. We can't truly judge what's going on here until we give this enough time. And I know there's going to be people in the comments saying, see, you guys finally get it. This wasn't good enough. And I mean, yeah, I'll eat it. I did believe in this front office. I thought they were on the right track, even when they shifted into a more defensive mindset, going out and getting Dalton Varsho. That sort of we know what happened. They traded a bunch of offense for defense, and it just has not worked out. Where I have always been frustrated with this front office is their inability to understand when they need to go all in. I wasn't overly impressed with what they did in the 2021 trade deadline. I really felt like they should have gone harder after guys that would have truly helped this team. I felt the same way in 2022. I know they got Mitch White and Whit Merrifield. Still didn't feel like they had addressed the needs they had. 2023, I mean, last year they pretty much did nothing at the deadline. To blame this front office for this offseason and not doing anything, yes, it's frustrating. And they didn't do enough. They just ran it back. But I do want to just go over some numbers here. WRC plus of the top 15 bats last offseason, this is per Fangraphs, in free agent market. So Shohei Ohtani is sitting at 212.
Sure.
I mean, he's been ridiculous. He's hit more hits in the 35 games he's played with the Dodgers than any 35-game stretch with the Angels, which is insane, being we all know how good Shohei Ohtani's bat is. So Ohtani, we lost out on. They went all in after Ohtani, lost out on that. Everyone else, Cody Bellinger, just a reminder to WRC plus, 100 is average. So anything above 100 is slightly above average. So Cody Bellinger, he's on the 10-day IL right now. He's sitting at 107. Matt Chapman, 79. Jmar Candelario, 77. Lee out of South Korea, sitting at 81. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., 94. Mitch Garver, 75. Kevin Kiermaier, 53. Jorge Soler, 94. Rhys Hoskins, 120. Teoscar Hernandez, 127. Harrison Bader, 89. JD Martinez, 92. Belt, not applicable, not even signed. And then Adam Duvall, 93. So in that entire list, there's two guys that I think would have actually made a difference in this lineup, which is Rhys Hoskins and Teoscar Hernandez. Taking the Shohei Ohtani unicorn out of this equation, we lost out. No use even, I mean, different animal altogether. I don't know if there was much out there, is what I'm saying. So where I blame this front office is not recognizing that free agency has shifted. Not recognizing it's pretty hard to go out and bolster a team in free agency when everyone is signing their best young talent that's coming up on free agency to long-term deals. We watched it happen numerous times in Atlanta, in San Diego. This has been the new trend, right? We watched Bobby Witt Jr. get locked up. We watched Julio Rodriguez get locked up with the Mariners. So as the free agent landscape changes, I feel like this Blue Jays front office hasn't. And I think that's one of the big Achilles heels. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this front office. I just, they haven't got it done. And whatever your opinion on what their worst transgression has been, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant because we're all at the same spot right now where it's like, I don't think this is the guy, right? And I honestly will say again, I've said this numerous times. This front office is good. It's not great. And you know what a good front office winds up doing is making a mistake. And we're kind of dealing with that right now.
Yeah. Teoscar Hernandez, I just have to, while we're like eating crow, I have to acknowledge I was wrong on him.
Yeah.
I thought he would fall off an offensive cliff a little more than he has, because he's on the wrong side of 30 now. But I think we touched on this earlier about Vladdy and would he be better if we had Juan Soto and Pete Alonso on the team? And like, yeah, he would. And I think Teoscar Hernandez is a good example of that. Like, he got 9 home runs this year, which is sixth in baseball, fifth in baseball,
sixth in baseball, fifth in baseball, and 3 more than anyone on the Blue Jays. Dalton Varsho leading the way with 6.
And you know where he's hitting on the Dodgers? Sixth. He was 6th in the lineup yesterday. Like, so yeah, like, offense is contagious when it's protected, and I think I am curious as to like what this team would look like if we still had Teoscar in right field instead of George Springer. I know it's not like a fair crystal ball to even throw out there, but it is. George Springer was an exciting signing when we signed him. I think was almost immediately a bad signing and is only getting worse.
Which leads into our next question really nicely.
I can't fault Atkins for going for it and getting it wrong, though, because like it is a bit of a crapshoot. Like, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
This offseason has been a bummer. Yeah, and I will just also say, like, I've been an Atkins apologist for 3 years in a row, and
the apologies have stopped.
I'm over it. Stuff your stories in a sack, George Costanza. So yeah, I think the fact that we've both been Atkins apologists
we let the
so
cake
long,
bake, and now we hate the taste.
I think that has real like weight behind. I mean, we're just 2 fucking losers. There's no weight behind it, but like,
yeah,
I think that's a pretty strong testament to like
the tides have turned.
The tides have turned. Like, when you take 2 guys like us who have been like giving them the benefit of the doubt at every fucking turn for years. And even now, even we are now like, oh yeah, he's got to fucking go. Then that's a fucking hot seat that he's in right now. So there you go. Okay, next one then is from Janine, which is about George Springer. So Janine on Twitter DM'd us and said, hey guys, love long toss, but I feel like you're all way too harsh on Springer. The way everyone was talking, it's like he's one of the worst players on the team, but I still think he's one of the best.
So, Janine, I totally understand being a big George Springer fan because he's such a likable dude, right? Like, personality-wise, he's fun to watch. He enjoys the game. He is a defensive stalwart out in right field these days. But that's kind of where his benefits to this team have ended. This blew me away. So this is the Blue Jays wins above replacement since the 2023 All-Star break. Okay, this is F-WAR. So the number 1 win above replacement for this team has been Yusei Kikuchi with 3.7.
All right.
Tied for second since the 2023 All-Star break for WAR has been Dalton Varsho and Davis Schneider at 2.5. Dalton Varsho, a lot of that is coming off of his defensive prowess. Davis Schneider, a lot of that is coming off the hottest start in Major League Baseball history. By the way, Davis Schneider should be an everyday player, kicking butt. His season to date has been incredible. And honestly, I think he has earned the right to be in this lineup almost every day.
offensively, and then I'll let you continue. Just looking at OPS, so that's on base percentage plus slugging percentage. Danny Jansen's first on the team this season, only through 13 games though. Davis Schneider's second.
Yeah.
With 845. And then you got Justin Turner, who's 100 years old. Then Varsho.
Yeah.
Ernie Clement. And then finally you get to Vladdy. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Kevin Biggio. George Springer is ninth with an OPS of 582. Kirk worse than him. Bo Bichette worse than all of them. Barely beating out Kevin Kiermaier and Daniel Vogelbach.
And yeah, it has not been pretty. So F4, fourth on the team since the 2023 All-Star break is Alejandro Kirk. Again, a lot of that comes from defensive metrics. Danny Jansen is 1.9, and this is a guy who has missed a bunch of time throughout that span, so that's impressive. Tied for 6 is Jose Barrios and Chris Bassett at 1.8. Kevin Gausman, 1.7. Brandon Belt, who hasn't played all of this year, is in there at 1.4. Kevin Biggio, 1.3. In at number 11, Kevin Kiermaier at 1.1. Just keep in mind, we're talking about where George Springer is on this list.
I still haven't heard Vlad's name yet either.
Tied for 12, Jimmy Garcia and Ernie Clement are 1 win above replacement. Number 14 on this list, Vlad Guerrero Jr. at 0.9 wins above replacement. Tied for 15th on the team is Bo Bichette and George Springer at 0.7 wins above replacement. So, Janine, my pushback is we were not too harsh on George Springer in long toss.
That's a big yuck, man. So, the top 3 in our batting order
are the worst wins above replacement producers on this team. And we're wondering what's wrong. Yeah.
Yikes.
And this is one of the things we talked about on long toss. And obviously we don't need to get into the weeds because if you wish to hear about it, just watch the long toss. But the culture on this team is not good right now. And I know it's easy to point to culture because it's such an intangible when a team is losing and be like, oh, something's wrong with this clubhouse. But something's wrong with this clubhouse because I'm going to tell you right now, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, and George Springer should not be at the bottom of the wins above replacement list for this team. And I will even say that even if George Springer is washed, he should be far more productive than he's been. Figure it out. And this is why rebuild keeps being brought up. How can you not talk about changing the culture and changing the personnel of this team when you look at the numbers?
It's gone from a team that is good and can't get it done in the playoffs to a team that just can't get it done. There's a big sample size too we're talking about now, right? Like,
and it kills me, dude, because I love this fucking team. Like it goes back to the question of how many games are you going to watch this year? It's like, well, the same amount of last year, except I'm going to dislike it more. Yeah. Like it's I'm going to enjoy it less. Like
all right, next one. Grady Dick says, "Hey boys, mailbag question coming at you. With the team tumbling down the slope towards a rebuild, who are a few prospects you think could help usher in the new wave of this team? Also, are there any teams in particular you'd want to trade with for some of their young guys?"
So, number one, yes, there absolutely is some young prospects that I think will help usher in the next era of this Blue Jays team. And I think one of them is literally playing on this roster right now. And we just talked about him, one of the highest wins above replacement producers since the All-Star break last year, Davis Schneider. I really believe in this kid. It has gone it has gone from small sample size, let's see how this plays out, to me being like, you know what? I just really like his approach at the plate. I like how much he hustles. He takes nothing for granted. This is a kid that has had to work for every single step along the way of his career and has now gotten to a point where he has the work ethic. He knows his body. He knows what works for him. We kind of touched about this in the preamble before we hit record with Eric Gagne and kids today not knowing their body. Davis Schneider knows what makes him work. Davis Schneider knows what to do when he steps into the batter's box and what makes him the best hitter possible. And I don't think that this is something that will erode with time or with a bigger sample size. Is Davis Schneider ever going to be a 40 home run hitter and a superstar? I would bet against it. That said, is he going to be an above average player and a very productive offensive piece? I truly believe that. I think this is a kid who could hit 30 to 40 doubles, who could be a 25 home run a year guy. And he is already showing that when it comes to his defensive prowess, he's better than maybe he was originally touted. Have we seen him make mistakes? Yes. Even just last game, we saw him make a mistake in the outfield that cost a run. It's going to happen. But yeah, Davis Schneider, I think, is a guy that, watch for him to continue to make progress and be a real contributor on this team. Now, if we go deeper down the depth charts into the actual minors, obviously everyone's well aware of what Ricky Tiedemann can be. We're hoping that he starts pitching again very soon. He was shut down. The good news that came out was that it's not going to require surgery. Structurally, everything is fine. It is worrisome, obviously, to have your top prospect in your system shut down 2 years in a row and miss actual development time. You know, they put him in the Arizona Fall League last year to try and build his innings up. We're all in on him this year to probably make his major league debut, pushed him into spring, wound up getting shut down, came back, wound up getting shut down again. So we just need to keep our fingers crossed and that this kid can wind up getting right health-wise and then continue to move his development process forward. Aroldis Martinez, 22 years old, continues to absolutely demolish balls with that Bison's team. Not very good defensively. Is this something a team can work around? Maybe moving him to a first base position or, part-time first base DH, similar to what the Jays were doing with Edwin Encarnacion. Remember, like, Edwin was never a bad first baseman, but he was never a great first baseman. But I mean, any dude who's going to hit 40 bombs and isn't going to cost you a bunch of runs at first, all for it, right? So maybe this is a place where we could see Aroldis come in and shine. I mean, Addison Barger is on the verge. Spencer Horwitz is on the verge. Are these going to translate into major league ready bats? We don't know yet. I mean, to tackle the second part of this question too, this is a very Grady Dick Enjoyer on Twitter. Very good question, by the way. What are some teams that you would be going to? So when I look at the top farm systems in baseball, number one, it's frustrating because there's a lot of names on here, a lot of teams on here that I'm just like, how are they still so highly rated? So number one is still Baltimore, despite the fact that they've graduated last year's Rookie of the Year, Gunnar Henderson. Kierstad is up with the team. Cowser is up with the team. I know that they just sent Jackson Holiday back down, but he's already made his major league debut and has been with the team. Like, it's just like guy after guy after guy, and they're still ranked number one. I don't think there's a trade that would work between the Blue Jays and the Orioles just because it's the same division and you wouldn't wish to really can help this Orioles team win a World Series. Right. Number two on this list is the Cubs. I love the idea of a deal. I love the idea of a deal with the Cubs. National League. They're not going to, if they move somebody like a Vladdy to the Cubs, we don't need to feel quite as bad. Like if you move him to, let's say, the Houston Astros and he just blows up, you just need to deal with Vlad doing well in the American League all the time and it just will suck, because we'll hear about it all the time. But the Cubs have a really good system. Milwaukee's another team they're ranked third in baseball for their farm system. So these are teams that are looking to win now are pretty quick. So the Cubs, Milwaukee, the Padres are ranked fourth. The Padres, I like, how the fuck are they fourth in baseball and farm system? Do you know how many prospects they have traded in the last few years? I know they got a bunch back for Juan Soto, but like, honestly, man, they traded a bunch for Juan Soto. Like
No,
they just moved a bunch for Luis Ariz, and they're still ranked fourth.
dude, this is the argument for trading Bo and Vlad.
Yeah.
Is to get the fucking rebuild the farm system. Like, that's such a not exciting thing to say. Like, who,
No, it's not.
you know, it was such a faint silver lining to look at, like after the Donaldson Encarnacion era, where it was like, oh, this team sucks, but Kevin Biggio, Vlad Jr., and Bo just led our AA team to the championship.
To a championship, yeah.
Oh my God, who fucking cares? But it's like something to hold on to. So like, I get the idea of like, oh, prospects are not fucking exciting or helpful, but like they are. And yeah, I like the Cubs a lot. I'm looking at the
I
MLB.
could see making a move. I could see making a move with the Tigers. They're another team in that Central that's looking to make moves forward. They're ranked fifth for their prospect system. Sixth is Tampa Bay. That would never happen. Same thing with the division. Texas is seventh. Maybe there's something there if they're looking to bolster. The Dodgers, that's another one. How the freak are the Dodgers still eighth in their farm system? And then the Pirates and Reds round out the top 10. Also, two teams looking to make step forward. So I would look at teams that are on the verge of winning, more on the verge of playoffs, or even like contending deeper into the playoffs. And those are the teams that would look to bolster their major league roster and maybe use some of that prospect capital to do so. That would be my guess, is what the Jays do, is maybe go to the National League with the higher ranked farm systems there.
Cubs, by the way, I'm at MLB.com. I'm looking at the top 100 prospects. Cubs have 6 in the top 100. Blue Jays have 2, by the way. Number 25, Ricky Tiedemann, and number 80, Orelvis Martinez. So keep that in mind. As high as we are on Orelvis Martinez, he's only 80, right? Cubs have 6 inside the top 65. 65, 57, 48, 42, 22, 14. So they have some real guys. Like you feel like, oh, we're only getting the number 65 prospect back. Oh, that's just, but it's like, it's someone that's like ranked higher than Orelvis Martinez. So that's fucking better than you think.
Let's be serious. When it comes to prospects, I mean, truly, the difference between 80 and 20 is honestly, I mean, minute, right?
It's I think my number one guy I'd be looking at is on the Cubs, outfielder Owen Casey. He's Canadian.
Yeah.
Got a 65 power rating.
Wow.
He's the third prospect in the Cubs organization. They got Pete Crow Armstrong at 14. I think he's in the majors right now. Cade Horton's a pitcher. If I'm the Jays, that's the kind of thing I'm looking at, is like, this Canadian kid could be the face of the franchise. Why not? He's a ginger, but I wouldn't hold that against him. I don't know. Cubs have a lot to trade. You also talk about the Padres and the Brewers. I think those are the kinds of teams, I mean, that are in divisions that are, they're competitive. They're towards the make a playoff push, and they have stuff to offer back. I know there was like talk earlier in the year about trading Bo Bichette to the Dodgers because the Dodgers don't have a shortstop, and the Dodgers just also like don't have much to offer us. In return, their farm system's pretty empty right now. Anyways, all of these speculative, who do you want, whatever. It's like looking at pictures of other people's kids. I'm not interested. Tell me about your dreams instead. Okay, let's move to the Discord and let's get out of here because we're pushing for time
Long
now.
in the tooth. Yeah.
City Connect jerseys. They're
Yes.
out. The Rays look good. I think Rays look really good. The Tigers just unveiled theirs. I really
Mm-hmm.
like the Tigers too. That tire
Mm-hmm.
tracks and the tiger eyes,
Motor
little hidden
City.
details and stuff.
Yeah.
Motor City across the
Yeah.
chest. Yeah, like it. So, Jays, we're getting ours in about 3 weeks. We're getting ours revealed.
May
3.5 weeks.
30th is when they reveal it. May 31st they wear it. So it's coming up right away here. New City Connects really have been kind of the topic du jour in our Discord. AJ's says, in my opinion, these jerseys are a waste of time. Just be ready to be disappointed. Jason in Paris responded with, what? No way. I'm so excited to get our lumberjack plaid jerseys where the Blue Jays is swapped out for a Canadian goose and a beaver from Nova Scotia who's eating a poutine in front of the CN Tower. And then he's like, I joke, but I'm actually kind of loving it. Going super Canadian feels cringy, but if they are tongue in cheek and just go hyper overboard into it, poking fun at the whole thing, I think I'm in. Then Joyo Turntables pipes up. I legitimately think the full lumberjack look would be hilarious. Make the pants Carhartt tan, the shirt black and red plaid, the cap bright hard hat orange. Be an abomination. Die on City Connect's stupid sword. And I mean, honestly, the City Connect talk in our Discord was ridiculously long.
Mm-hmm.
And I just picked that as a chunk to show you folks, just in case you're like, what is this Discord they keep talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much that, but 24/7 with all the different time zones
It's a
and people all over.
semi-organized group chat. Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the City Connect ideas. I think
it's fun.
I think it's good for the kids. I am a kid at heart. I always loved like third jerseys, like in the NHL and stuff when I was younger. I think it's I just hope it's not something boring. Like whatever we do, I want us to really go for it.
Me too. And I love the wider range of opinions on all the jerseys too, right? Because there were some teams that took some real leaps here. And some of them were very successful with them. Some of them weren't. And everybody likes and hates different jerseys, right? Like I love the Colorado Rockies City Connect. The forest green with the mountains, it's fantastic. But there's lots of different lists where they're ranked one of the worst. So it's really just subjective.
The Mariners are good. The Mets, I don't like gray. I think it's the problem I have with Washington's as well.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like Washington's, like the flower and stuff, like how it kind of pops. But you're right, the gray is very deadening.
Yeah. Some are just like kind of. I don't know. I don't want it to be too black either. Like Baltimore and Cincinnati are both like too black.
Which some people like. Grounds crew members, what's your favorite City Connect jersey? We'll get to this next Tuesday. Drop it in the comments here and we'll see what we can do. I know we were going to kind of do a favorite expos too, and there were lots of people who dropped comments. We will tackle that. It's just we're running so short on time. We're not going to be able to get to it today.
Last quick one, and we're out of here. Wyatt from Patreon wants to know, hey, fellas, when Kirk reaches free agency, does anyone pick him up? And if so, who?
What a nice way of saying, hey, guys, Alejandro Kirk sucks. I think that, yes, obviously, he's a big league catcher. Someone would pick him up. I'm not sure who would be after him. I mean, if his back continues to be such a non-factor, it would probably be a team that's looking for a backup defensive first catcher.
It's honestly a really interesting question that I hadn't considered before because we've got, you think, okay, well, even if his bat isn't like good, we still had, what's his name, Severn? Like, there's going to be a third catcher situation. Like, Kirk has to be good enough to be a third catcher somewhere. But also, like, he's so slow.
Man, he's slow.
And like 5 years from now, if we have the automated strike zone, it's just
Yeah.
like, I do wonder, like, maybe he isn't a big league catcher at, some point in the near future. Like, we've still got a weird nostalgia for him when he came up in the 2020 season and was like this
Lights out.
18-year-old
Straight out of
fucking
A ball.
sleeper hitter.
Straight
Yeah,
out of A
like,
ball. Yeah. Wins a silver slugger in 2022. Like, think about that. He was the best offensive catcher 2 years ago. He's horrible now. At the
yeah.
plate. At the plate.
I mean, he's got to figure out his bat more consistently. Again, like, he's got to refine that. And I would say if Ross Atkins is no longer the GM, I wouldn't be surprised if Kirk is like one of the first things we move on from as a organization that's just like cleaning things up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we can have Jansen play half the games, and then it just he's no money on the books to like just put him down in AAA or whatever and be like, yeah, he's just
Mm-hmm.
not a big league catcher anymore. Like, we're going in a different direction. His his strongest asset outside of pitch framing is his relationship with another AAA pitcher, like in Alek
Yeah.
Manoah, right? Like, that was, I think, part of the like unspoken reason we didn't trade him too. Like, I know it's not the only factor, but I'm sure it was a part of the factor was Alek Manoah was a superstar and he was comfortable with Kirk, and that was like a thing. We didn't want to break up. But
Mm-hmm.
now if Manoah isn't the value that he was, why do we care about his best friend? I don't know.
Man, has it ever been frustrating to watch our top assets become almost worthless? It's just like, I know that there's still a lot of value in these guys. It's just like, man, they got to figure this season out. It's just like, it's wearing on me, dude. It's killing me. Like,
Um, just on that note, before I let you go here, um, people that like shit on, oh, we're not gonna get anything for Bo or Vlad either because look how bad they're playing this year. And like Bo specifically, um, like Juan Soto was also having a really
yeah,
bad year when he got traded from Washington to the
yeah. And he still
Padres,
got a haul. Yeah.
and he still gets all like,
No,
yeah,
you're
just
right. Bo has done enough. Bo has done enough to prove that career wise,
this
he's
is
going
the
to be
anomaly.
fine.
Whereas
It's like Sean LeComber.
Vlad's
Look,
done enough to prove that, well, not prove, but like to strongly hint,
yeah.
2021 was the anomaly.
Yeah. Like
So
long toss, Sean LeComber was like, I'm not worried about Bo, but I am worried about him just not figuring it out in time and completely this season being a write off.
yeah, it'll be one of those body language things. It'll be interesting to watch. Like, his errors are back.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not hitting offensively and he just fucking throws in the towel and it's like a write off, that's not.
Yeah.
See that happening. I don't
It's
know.
not
Not
good.
good.
Not
This has been a
good.
fun Tuesday, my friend.
Well, folks, before we get out of here, I will just give a little bit of a little, I don't know, warning here, not warning. I don't know why the word's not coming to my mind here, but just if this has seemed really negative, and this has seemed like sometimes fandom, you get so attached to the players that whenever negative things are said about them, you personally take it personal. Please don't. You know, I would love to eat my words. Adam's in the same. I mean, we're Jays fans first. If this team somehow comes together and makes us all eat a big shit burger, great. I'll gladly do it. Like, honestly, I just want to see this team be good and succeed. it's just getting to the point where I'm looking at the lineup and looking at the front office, and I've kind of lost faith in this organization as is to do it.
Yep. Reveal the City Connect jerseys and then fire everyone. Bring back Charlie Montoyo.
Bring back Charlie. Charlie and the bongos. That's our
Charlie
City Connect. just a shadowed man bongoing. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
All right, gang. Honestly, thank you so much for watching. Couldn't do this without you, the grounds crew. Feel free to leave any comments you want. We'll try and get to it next mailbag. All the best, everybody. We will see you on Friday. We're also going to release Jordan Powell's interview. He is the knuckleballer with the Blue Jays this year. Personal trainer R.A. Dickey. It was a really fun interview. Some really good stuff behind, inside baseball stuff on the knuckleball. Very cool. Take care, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.